Much of our media and its cultural products have been getting us ready for the post-human future for some time. Hollywood has been preparing the way for posthumanism. The sociologist Ulrich Beck once talked about the preponderance of disaster movies, about the destruction of humanity. Films such as Armageddon, Deep Impact, Independence Day, 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, and on and on. And he noted that this trend largely manifested a latent fear that humanity may somehow be coming to an end. Some movies show more directly the transformation of the human through the union with the other. The Alien movie series, starring Sigourney Weaver, demonstrated this by showing the merging of the human with the alien and the monstrous. In the first two Alien movies, humans are used to birth alien creatures. The alien, the other, is inside of us. In the third film, the main character of Ripley, played by Weaver, literally becomes the mother of an alien. And in the fourth movie, Alien Resurrection, for those who keep up on these things, Ripley is resurrected biomechanically, but with her genes completely fused with the alien creature. And we witness the birth of a human-alien hybrid, an entirely new species that takes the human and something else beyond to the next stage. And we can sort of see that's a little dark here, but you can kind of see that's what she's holding there, is this birthed creature, which is part human and part alien. More pleasantly, of course, there's Star Wars. While the pantheistic philosophy behind Star Wars universe and the concept of the Force have been discussed to the point of banality, everybody knows this about it, it is interesting to note the almost casual way that humans are shown to live in harmony with alien creatures and monsters, as well as cybernetic and robot beings. Both Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker have bodies that are fused with technology. And that's actually a very lovely, happy picture of the future. Where we see human and techno merged in the body, then there, basically, but then we have also, Jurassic World from also a couple of years ago, which clearly demonstrates the link between the biotech and cognitive capitalism taken to the extreme. We will create creatures just to entertain ourselves, is what the movie is really kind of showing. That we'll create monsters just in order to make money and keep ourselves amused. Transhumanism's push for superhuman immortality seems to be one of the most consistent champs at the box office, especially in the guise of the superhero narrative. From X-Men's superior evolved group of good-looking mutants, to Batman and Iron Man's technological exoskeletons, to the virtually godlike qualities of Superman and Thor, young people and old are now being regularly fed a diet of images of humans that move above and beyond the human. Yet, perhaps the most remarkable and brilliant cinematic representation of posthumanism, I would think, is the James Cameron film Avatar, the most successful movie in human history. Again, much has been made of the pagan and pantheistic backdrop of the film, especially by Christian commentators, noting the religious practices of the Na'vi creatures at the center of the story. But there's much more to it. Here we are seeing a depiction of the new humanity, digitally mediated into a post-species form. Humanity is represented as having a multi-present subjectivity, which is simultaneously virtual and biological. We live in the biological and the tech at the same time. The central character of Jake Sully, a representation of the old humanist human, he is male, white, represents imperialistic military and corporate interest, but he is also crippled, bespeaking the old European humanism, which is a crippled tradition. Via virtual technology, he is able to escape the identity politics of the past. People in the future will no longer be identified as white, black, or brown. They'll be blue. He takes on an alien appearance, one which exhibits decidedly animalistic characteristics. And in fact, these Na'vi can directly link biologically with various other animal species, demonstrating the interrelatedness of all creatures and all life in a one unified planet world. A very important development in Cameron's Aliens, though, is their strongly sexual and erotic characteristics. And indeed, the film suggests the character has an active sexuality in his newly embodied existence. The future is technologically enhanced trans-species transsexuality. So, yes, we're getting some alien love happening there. What can we say in conclusion? In terms of a post-human future, there can be little real argument, for it is already here. Its manifestations have not yet been as extreme as many of its advocates could hope for, but its continued growth in popular society does seem inevitable. We of course, must not ignore what is good in it. For one thing, it attacks a form of secular humanism which has been dominant in the West for at least 4 centuries. As Christians and religious believers, we do not have much to lament in secular humanism's demise, or at least in certain aspects of it or characteristics of it. It has been responsible for some of the worst atrocities and idiocies of our civilization. And despite much of the good that it has provided, I'm glad to see it finally being put to rest. It also brings to attention just how much our lives are in fact connected to technology and other species. As a person who loves both dogs and robots, I applaud this. At the same time, the new post-humanity does not appear altogether the most amenable substitute. It is already meeting us, and aggressively so, with many new challenges, and may in fact prove to be a more worrisome opponent than humanism ever was. In one of his most significant and prophetic books, The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis foresees a future where, he says, mankind is to be cut out into some fresh shape at the will of some few lucky people in one lucky generation which has learned how to do it. Lewis feared the advancements he saw science producing all around him in his day, and he thought they would be their application to humanity would be disastrous in terms of its consequences in the future. He modestly suggests that science must be exercised with restraint and guided by older and wiser human traditions. That many transhumanists would hear these as fighting words, which should be of no surprise. And we can certainly see the possibility of near future political battles over the employment of certain technologies, such as cloning, implants, and cross-species bioengineering. Yet what seems to have gone even beyond Lewis' predictive abilities was the redefinition of humanity out of existence altogether. But this redefinition is perhaps, in the end, only symptomatic of a much deeper and much more abiding trouble in the West. I want to conclude with the words of Pope Benedict from his address that he delivered at Christmas, which I mentioned at the beginning of this lecture. Benedict writes at the end of his speech, "When the freedom to be creative becomes the freedom to create oneself, then necessarily the maker himself is denied, and ultimately man too is stripped of his dignity as a creature of God, as the image of God at the core of his being. When God is denied, human dignity also disappears. Whoever defends God is defending man. Ultimately, the human question is a God question." Thank you.